Okay, here we go. So we're going to continue studying special right triangles. So it's a continuation of what we did last time. The notes from last time, if you were absent, they are in Schoology. So today's just a continuation. You do have, I forgot to mention, you do have a right triangle homework activity. Okay, I did not mean to freeze. All right, let's start from the beginning. Come on in. We're a few minutes late. All right, here we go. There was a homework assignment that was due today as well. So I forgot to mention that. There was also the Unit 6 Day 1 homework was due today. It's that piece of paper right in front of you. This one here. That was due. And Jason, can I borrow yours for a second, please? Look like this. Right triangles. Right triangle activity should be in your possession. Some of you turned it in. All right, Valerie, stop that phone. You don't need that right now. You need to eyes use this way. That's due today. Only a couple of you turned it in. So a lot of you still need to turn that in. Because you're going to get another homework assignment today. That's actually going to count as a quiz grade. Yep, it was that one. So you're going to get another one towards the end of the period. That's going to be a quiz grade. We're going to probably do as many of these problems as possible. And then note next week what's going on. Now I know Thursday we kind of have a slightly shortened day. I don't know by how much. 2-hour early release. But I know we're going to lose a little bit of time. So depending on how much time we lose, that's going to determine exactly what we cover on the test. Okay. Yeah, late. A lot of us are coming in late. All right. And then, of course, test is going to be a week from Thursday. That's, at the moment, that's scheduled. A week from Thursday is going to be the test. So we're going to cover new material today. Some more new stuff next class. Our class is going to be a review, and then already we have a test coming up. And then I will mark this as well in Schoology, where you get your announcements regarding what's coming up in the near future. You've been told. All right. Any questions before we start today? So right now we're going to continue with what we did last time. So now the first activity was a quick warm-up. I'm going to do the warm-up real quick. 1, 2, and 3, all I had asked was, what was hypotenuse and what was the missing angle measure? So these notes I'm not going to grade. Valerie. Okay, going forward, next person who's using the phone, security's coming in, and they're going to take away both your phone and the next person. Are we understood? It's going forward. Can't be doing that anymore. All right, warm-up activity. Real quick, first slide, hypotenuse. What's our hypotenuse?
C.
What's the missing angle measure? You have a 30 and a right angle. What's missing? Right angle is always how many degrees?
90.
So either 30, 90, what must this angle be? One on the top. 30 plus 90 plus blank has, it has to equal 180. So that means what's this third angle going to be? 60. What's an angle measure? 60. All right. The second one. 60 and a 90. All right, well, before that, what's our hypotenuse? Which one? X, Y, or 12? Huh? Y. Good. What's our missing angle measure? Leave it 60 and a 90. 30. All right, this last one. You can use the actual number. So what number is our hypotenuse? How do we say this number? 10 what?
10 with the square root of 2.
10 with the square root of 2, that's all. Remember, there's your hypotenuse, because it's across at a right angle. You have to be identifying our right angles, hypotenuse, short leg, long leg, because that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to continue that today. What's the angle measure that's missing? So I have a 90 and a 45. What's this angle measure have to be? 45 as well. Thank you, Alex. Hurry up. Have your agenda in your hand, though. So it looks like. All right. Questions on these? So again, identifying. We did not get this one. Let's write this down real quick. Otherwise, I'll make it a graded note activity. When I'm writing notes, I'll make it a graded activity. Okay. Last time. So next couple slides, of course, is just review information. We're aware of the Pythagorean theorem, right? A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We're good with that. I don't have to explain it. Okay? Then with a 45, 45, 90, every time you have 45, 45, 90, we use that particular, oh, I can't even think of the name of it, proportion. Use that particular proportion. All right. So we're going to use this proportion. Now, for the problems that we're going to be doing, I already told you which proportion we're going to use. So 45, 45, 90, boom, that's our proportion. So this was from last time. So really, there is no, we're gonna review it again today. And I'm gonna list that proportion. We're going forward. That's just 45, 45, 90, boom, that's my proportion. You might want to write it down somewhere. Or highlight it, and then be aware of it. Okay. Valerie. Well, again, you don't need that. All right. Let's look at this first one. I know it's a little blurry, so we'll try our best. Again, 45, 45, 90. What's the two things we need to identify with our triangle? All right, Jason, we don't need to do that right now. A leg and a hypotenuse. So we need to figure out what's our leg, what's our hypotenuse.
Hypotenuse would be 6 with the square root of 2.
All right, that's our hypotenuse, 6 square root of 2. Good. And then what's the leg? X. That's our leg. Because in the end, both legs, are they gonna, what do we know about both legs in a 45-45-90? They are both what? They are the same. 'Cause in the end, opposite angles are congruent, opposite sides are congruent. So even if this would happen to be an X, that's okay. These two legs are gonna be the same. But we only need, that's why we only need one. You don't need that other leg. All right. We have enough information to set up our proportion. Yeah, we do. All right, so let's set it up. Okay, don't worry about this part right here, that square root, and typing. Don't worry about that business. You can cross that out. All right, let's set it up. What are we going to put? Well, obviously, put 1 over square root of 2. Over here, though, what over what? What's in the top? What's on the bottom?
X over 6, 2.
X over 6 square root of 2. Okay. That's our setup. Now, like before, what do we always need to do when we're solving for proportion? Cross multiply or multiply diagonally. Yes, we do. Boom, boom. So, well, obviously, what's 1 times 6 square root of 2? What are we going to get when we multiply 1 times 6 square root of 2? Yeah, it's just 6 times square root of 2. Now, I'm going to put a multiplication dot between the 6 and the square root of 2. You're going to see why in a second. Now, we go this way. X times square root of 2. Can we really do anything with the x times square root of 2? No, we can't do anything for the moment. Now, 6 times square root of 2 equals x times square root of 2. There's one of 2 ways we can solve for this. Do you want to know the safe way or the easy way or the quickest way?
Quickest.
Huh?
Quickest.
You want to know the quickest way? All right. Notice that we have a 6 times square root of 2, right? 6 dot square root of 2. So we'll multiply 6 times square root of 2. Bam. Here, notice we have x times square root of 2. Both sides, both are being multiplied by the square root of 2. So here's a quick way out. But you can do this only if you see both left side with something times square root of 2 and a right side with something times square root of 2. Divide by what? Divide by square root of 2. You can do that here. Because in the end, the square root of 2 is just a number. This case, you can do this because unlike the previous time, you know, when we had a number, just a straight up number equal to the square root of 2, like no other radicals and all that. But since you have this, because in the end, if we divide square root of 2 by the square root of 2, check in your calculator. What happens when you divide the square root of 2 by the square root of 2? So, yeah, this side is going to be 6, you're right. It's just going to be x because what's square root of 2 divided by square root of 2? Say it again. Yeah. You're basically dividing the square root by itself. So in the end, boom, that goes away. Boom, that goes away. So we're just left with x equals 6, or 6 equals x. So that's another way you can do this. But that's only if you see something times square root of 2 on both sides of the equal sign. Now, the other way, you know how I told everybody, if we did this line, if you did the 6, so this is just side work. You know how we did this work? You know when we multiplied both by the square root of 2 on both sides? Can we still do that? Can we still multiply both sides by square root of 2 first? You can. Because in the end, you're going to just get 6 times 2 equals x times 2. Remember, square root of 2 times square root of 2 just becomes 2. You can do it that way too. So again, 6 times 2, 12, 2x, and then of course, in the end, 6 will still equal x. So both ways are acceptable. You can divide both sides by square root of 2 if and only if both sides have that square root of 2. But if they don't, this you can still always do no matter what. Multiply that x times square root of 2 by another square root of 2. This you can always do. You can do this if and only if you see a square root of 2 on both sides. All right? Okay. Anybody have any questions before we continue with today's lesson? All right. Again, going forward, we got to make sure we get here on time. Christian. Okay, just make sure you work, bud. Okay. Okay, next problem's going to be similar to this one. Anybody any questions before we go on? Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, let's look at our next one. What's that?
That's 2B.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. What did I?
Yeah, we're doing the 2 for the next part.
Okay, you know what? I got an idea. Oh boy, I just hope we didn't. Let me see what happened here. All right, just. Let's see. Okay, you know what? Skip 2A from now because I don't know where to. Let's see something. Oh, 2A must have been skipped. All right, go to 2B. All right, so 2A you skip. Go to 2B. Sorry about that. Well, if there's time, we'll go back to 2A. I think. Let's see something. Can I see something real quick? Well, 2B is going to be just like 2A, so let's focus on 2B then. Skip 2A if there's time, we'll get back to it. If not, don't worry about it. All right, let's figure out what's given to us. Who can tell us what's given to us? And again, don't worry about this. Who can tell us what do we have? What's given here, a leg or a hypotenuse? A leg. What's the leg? What's the value of the leg? Now you're saying they gave us a leg, right? So the leg is 9 square root 2. Okay. Always, we got to identify what's given to us. It's always and forever. Do we know what the hypotenuse is yet? So where is the hypotenuse?
Right under it.
So like here?
No, like,
The line.
Here.
yes.
Good. Okay, so we don't know that yet. But that's all right. Because do we still have enough information to get that hypotenuse? We do. And basically that one that is not here but on your slides, that problem is going to be the same like this. So yeah, you still have it. So now we have all right, how are we going to set up our other part about proportion? What goes over what? So what's the value of the leg? 9 times square root of 2 over x. Yep. Yeah, you can say x. That's fine. H, x. It's okay. You want to use x? I'm good with that. Now, this one's not going to be too bad because, like before, what do we always have to do? We always need to cross multiply. If h equals, because remember, 1 times h is just h. You have 9 radical 2 times another radical 2. So be careful. Because you have 9 times square root of 2 times another square root of 2. So what's happening with our square root of 2's? What's happening here? What does the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 give us? Got you. Yeah. Yeah, because you're right. That other problem, yeah, the one that we skipped, you were 100% correct. It would have been, that hypotenuse would have been 4, or x would have been 4. You're good. But yeah, same thing like before. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just, yeah, because in the end you're going to get 18. I know where you're getting it. Because in here, h is 9 times 2, but what's 9 times 2? 18. So your hypotenuse, if you want to say x is the hypotenuse, is 18. So you're good with that. Because in the end, when you multiply your square root of 2's, these two guys just become 2. And then it's just 9 times 2. Boom. Yeah, that other problem that was accidentally on your handout, I think there's going to be one that's going to be missing. That's what's going to happen. I have a feeling we're going to be missing one in the end. But we'll deal with that later. So we do need to keep our eyes for that one. But yeah, this one, there you go. All right, questions. So leave this up for the moment. All right. Anybody any questions before we go to the next problem? All right. Now, 30, 60, 90. This side is correct. Now, I gave you some hints. However, again, when in doubt, you're going to use two of these three proportions. So if you have a 30, 60, 90, two of these three proportions will be required. Basically, I kind of gave you hints on some of these. Depending on what's given to you. So if you're given a short leg, that's nice. Because all you're doing in some cases is just multiplying. Now, if you're given a hypotenuse, going to the short leg's not bad. But it's going from hypotenuse to long leg, that's going to probably be the most work out of the bunch. Yet, again, when in doubt, you can always use your proportions. Use your cross multiplying. That's probably the best way to knock these problems out. And again, identify. I cannot stress that enough. Once we know how to identify these problems, they're going to be quick, easy peasy. You'll be able to knock them out, no problem. Okay, anybody have questions before we go on? All right. Here we go. Remember, that's a G rather than a 9. So let's look at our triangle first. How are we going to identify everything? What's given to us?
Hypotenuse would be 20.
Hypotenuse is 20. Good.
Long leg would be G.
Long leg is J.
And short leg would be
All right. We have our long leg, hypotenuse, short leg. All right, so far so good. Now, here's what we need to do. Let's figure out what's given to us. The short leg was which variable or which number? Huh? F. F is the short leg. What about long leg? J. Hypotenuse is what? 20. Now, out of the three proportions, which one? We're going to use the last two. So that means this one, what are we going to do with this first one? Cross that one out. We're not going to use it. We're going to use the other two. You have F over 20. F over 20 equals 1 over 2. And then we have G over 20. So that's a G. Square root of 3 over 2. So we have our two proportions. Now, are we at a point where we can solve for these proportions? Can we solve for these?
Yes.
All right, try it real quick. This one might be a little work, but that's not going to be too bad. So I want you all to try these real quick. Give you about 2 minutes. Take care of both of them. So if you like the X, because you always have to use A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Remember, C squared. That's what you need.
10.
Which one? Okay, yeah, that's the first one. You got the first one. Now, the second one is going to be a little more work. Don't be surprised. That radical is going to be part of your answer for the second one. Okay, so let's try these diagonal cross multiplying deals. The first one you should have no problems getting. The second one might be a little bit of work. What you might have to do is maybe use your notes, spread them out. The first one you should have no excuse. First one's easy. The second one might be a little work, but not as much as we think. Just solve your proportion like before. Keep that radical. Yeah, you got it. You got both of them. Okay, so you're on the right track. Okay. Don't do the actual multiplication. Leave it as 20 times square root of 3. Then do your division. So numerically, it's not wrong, but keep it as 20 times square root of 3 when you do that second proportion. All right, how we doing over here? Did we write our proportions yet? Okay, you got the first one. It looks like the majority of us got the first one. You're just about there. So there's only one little step you have to do. All right. So keep that from there. Keep that 20 times square root of 3 from there. But then just remember, to get G by itself, what's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Okay, so that's going to be your last step. We're going to divide up 2 whole numbers. Now keep going. You're on the right track. Do similar to the other one. All right. All right, looks like the majority of us got the first one. First one, we look pretty good. Short leg with the value of F. Who got the value of F? That looked pretty good. What'd you get?
10.
We agree? F is 10. Again, 20 times 1, or 20, equals 2 times F. 2F by 2, boom. 10 equals F. That's your short leg. That one was obvious. That one wasn't too bad. That's all for the short leg. This one, I think, was fooling us a little bit. Some of us were getting fooled still. All right, I need everybody's eyes and ears this way. Most of you got this part, the 20 times square root of 3. But a lot of you decided, oh, let's multiply. Keep it as is. Keep it right now for 20 square root of 3. Leave it alone. Don't do anything with it. A lot of us, this part right here, a lot of us we just did this and we froze. A lot of you were freezing at this part here. 2 times G is 2G. Now, if we want to get G by itself, what do we need to do to both sides of the equal sign? Much easier than you think. We want to get G by itself. What do we do to both sides of the equal sign to get rid of that, to get G by itself? Well, What's being multiplied by G? What are we multiplying G by? What number? What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? That's all. I think a lot of us saw this and we thought we're doing something wrong. You're not necessarily doing something wrong here. When you get to this part, the key part is looking at that variable. Look at what's next to the variable. If it's just a whole number, who cares what's on this side? You just got to worry about getting that variable by itself. What's that? 10 square root of 3, because what's 20 divided by 2? 10. Boom. Square root of 3. Do we do anything with it? No. What's 2 divided by 2? So what's left? And G was the, which leg? Long leg, that's it. A lot of us just froze up right here. No, it was just like before. All right, anybody have questions on this one? So G, the long leg, 10 root 3. Short leg was 10. All right, this one, again, multiply a whole number by a radical, just leave it like this. Vary. Leave it like this. All right, questions before we go to the next one? All right, here we go. Try to do a couple of these. We may not do all of these. And then we might in and out do some practices, and then I want us to see a couple towards the very end, because you're going to get one on your homework. All right, we'll do a couple more of these, maybe 1, 2 more. May not do them all. All right, are we ready? Yeah, I know this one was from the warm-up. But unlike the warm-up, we're actually going to solve for this. All right. Who's going to tell us what's what? What's given to us? What do we need to find? What's given to us here?
We have the long leg, which is 12.
Long leg is 12. That's good stuff.
And then the hypotenuse is y, and the short leg is x.
Good. Okay, boom. Long leg, short leg, hypotenuse. Excellent start. Now, we need to figure out which proportions are we going to use.
I think we could use short leg and long leg.
Yup. Use the short leg, x, long leg, 12. See, x over 12 equals 1 over square root of 3.
And we can use long leg and hypotenuse, so we wouldn't use the middle one.
You can't use that middle one because you have xy. That's not going to help us. So then we have 12y. 12 over y equals square root of 3 divided by 2. Now, here, this one, we're going to have to do some of this together. Because in both cases, we're going to have to do some multiplying and dividing. We're going to have to deal with some radical business. All right, let's look at this. Well, first, obviously, what's 12 times 1? Do we have to worry about 12 times 1? No, because 12 times 1 is just Yeah, 12 times 1 is just 12. We're going this way. X times square root of 3. Can we do anything with that square root of 3 for now? Can we multiply x times square root of 3? Can we do anything yet? No, we can't do anything yet. Now, however, here's where we have to be careful. I'll move this over slightly. We'll see why in a second. Well, we have the square root of 3 over here. By, yeah, we're going to have to multiply by square root of 3 this time. We have to do that here because, unlike the previous problem, we did not have a square root of 3 or a square root of whatever on this side as well. Have to multiply by the square root of 3 over here. That's a must. This time we have to go by this route. But what's square root of 3 times square root of 3?
3.
So we're going to have now x times 3, which really, x times 3, is that the same as 3 times x?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's commutative property. Don't forget that. 12 times square root of 3. Can we really do anything with the 12 times square root of 3? No. We'll leave that alone. All right. Now, what would be our last step for this particular problem? Yep, we're going to have to divide everything by 3. Well, can we divide 12 by 3? What do we get? 4. Whoever said 4, 100% correct. 12 divided by 3 is 4. What happens with the square root of 3? Does that go away, or do we need to bring it down? Bring it down. 4 times square root of 3. Now, 3 times x over 3. That's just an x, because these guys are going to go bye-bye. Boom. So your short leg is 4 times square root of 3. Now, we have our short leg. There's one now. We've opened ourselves to a second possible way to get the hypotenuse, given the short leg. If we want to find the hypotenuse the quickest way, what number can we multiply the short leg by to get the hypotenuse? Anybody want to take a guess? What could be the alternate fastest way now, since we have a short leg? Well, okay. So, actually, before we do this, we know now we have our short leg, right? Can we now use this other proportion? We have a short leg. We found out the short leg was 4 square root of 3, right? Can we now use this middle proportion? Can we use it now? Do we now have a value of the short leg? We can. Now, if you did it this way, again, not wrong. Not wrong. Did anybody do the second one with this last proportion? If you did, that's okay. Because you'll still get the same. You're going to get the same result. All right. All right, we'll go through this one, but we can actually use this one. In fact, if you did it this way, that's okay, because you're still going to get the same result. Because like before, what do we always have to do with our diagonal multiplication? We need to cross multiply. So then, you get y times square root of 3. And then what's 2 times 12? 24. Okay, now, similar to before, what do we need to multiply both sides by to get rid of that radical? Multiply by square root of 3. Because in the end, what's going to happen with the square root of 3's? What's going to happen with this square root of 3 times that square root of 3? You get 3y. This just becomes 3y. And then 24 square root of 3. And then last step, what do we divide both sides by? 3. You get y equals, what's 24 divided by 3? 8. And then, all right, this is hypotenuse, right? Now, from the quickest way, I'm going to tell you another quick way. Once you get that short leg, you want, who thinks they know what's the quickest way they can get from the short leg to the hypotenuse? What number do we multiply by? Take a guess. What number could we multiply your short leg by to get to the hypotenuse? Yeah. So if you get the short leg, then you can multiply your short leg by 2 to get your hypotenuse. Now, could you do the proportion way both times? You can. But if you have a short leg, multiply by 2, bang, there's your hypotenuse. You're done. So that's a way you can get from the short leg to the hypotenuse really without doing any serious math. So if you have a short leg for the 30, 60, 90, multiply by 2, boom, there's your hypotenuse. Finito. All right. Any questions? Any questions on that one? All right. Let's see what we're going to do next. Which problem appears next on your notes? You go to the next page. Which problem appears next on the notes? Looks like this. Okay, the next two look similar, but they're not. I'll tell you that right now. These two are not going to look similar. All right. All right. Let's look at what we have. Let's try to make this as simple as possible. Right away, how are we going to designate our long leg, short leg hypotenuse? What's what? I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. Well, square root of 3. Okay. Now, which out of the 3 do you want to use right away? Which one of these 3 do we want to use immediately? What's going to give us the least amount of math to do? Or, well, let me rephrase. What one can we do? Let's start with this one. Short leg hypotenuse. We'll do this another way. So what's our short leg? B over 4 square root of 3. Okay. 1 over 2. All right. So what's our first step here? Yeah, because all you're doing, 1 times 4 square root of 3 is just 4 square root of 3. And then 2 times b is just 2b. Okay? Now we want to get what variable by itself. So in the end, what can we multiply both sides of our equation by? Or divide, rather. Two times square root of 3. There you go. We're done. Four, 2, boom. 2 times square root of b. 2 times square root of 3. All right. Now, we have 1 of 2 options for the other one. So we definitely got the short leg. Now, do we have an option and we use either proportion at this point to get the other one? All right. What could we use? Who wants to take it? Which one do we want to use at this point? Long leg hypotenuse? Okay, we can do that. And this one's not going to be bad. I'm going to tell you why. We can do that too. Because now, since we do have the short leg now, we can pick out a 1 deal. So basically, now you're at a dealer's choice. Which one? Yeah. All right, that's fine. Where's your agenda? All right, we can do that one real quick. Let's see how short. So this is going to be the short leg, long leg deal. Do we know the value of the short leg? What is it? 2 square root of 3. Very good. Do we know the long leg yet? No. That's okay. 1 times square root of 3. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. What's 1 times the long leg? What do we get? One time, okay, oh, you know what, let's, single variable, sorry about that. Hold on, I got a better idea. What did we say the long leg was again? What variable? A. All right. So then what's 1 times A? A. What about going this way? So it's 2 times what? 2 what?
2 square root of 3.
2 square root of 3. But what do we have to multiply by? Another square root of 3, which, yeah, that's not gonna be too bad for us. Hold on. Okay. All right, this is not working as well as I had anticipated. Yeah, because then you have 2 square root of 3 times another square root of 3. But in the end, these guys, because what's square root of 3 times another square root of 3? 3. 2 times 3, but what's 2 times 3? Look, do we have any more work we need to do? No, done. Here we go. And there's your long leg. So that's another way. And then again, from short leg, well, basically, if you have a hypotenuse, divide by 2, bang, there's your short leg. I mean, can you all? But yeah, once you get your first variable, once you figure out one of the missing values, then you have your option to use either one for the other. Because I know in the past we've restricted ourselves to, okay, which 2 do we use? But going forward, once you get one, you can open the option to get the other one. All right, anybody have any questions? All right. That last problem, number 6, don't worry about it. We're going to skip it for now. We're not going to do it. But what we are going to do, I want us to see what we've done. I think what we're going to do, rather than we're going to skip towards the back of this packet because I think we're at the point with you don't. Here's where we're going to go. We're going to go. Because I think we're pretty good with 45, 45, 30, 60, 90. Do we have any questions on any of those? Like anybody want to do either one more of the 30, 60, 90 or one more of the 45, 45? Anybody want to do any more of those? Because I think we're at a point where we've done enough of these single ones. I really want us to talk about problems towards the very back. I'm going to show you because some of them, if you go towards almost the, go to the back page. So basically, go to the end of your packet. Go to the very end. So we're going to go to the very end of our packet. Open up one page going back. We're going to look at the bottom. So it would be number 11. All right. This one, let me try to make it. Now we see we have a triangle of each type. So go to the very back. Close the pack. How about this? Close the very back. You see the very back? Flip it open one page. Look at the bottom. No, you didn't. You're not on the right page. Keep going. You see a problem that says number 11, 2 triangles. I want us to look at this type of problem here. Because we're going to have some that look like this type. Now, it looks better. It looks better on paper than what we see on the screen. However, these types of problems, anytime you see the 2 triangles connected, split them apart. So we notice on that slide, all right, so make sure we're on that correct slide. Go back one page, sir. In the wrong slide, number 11. Okay, I want everybody to see exactly where we are. You're in the right spot, Joshua. Bottom slide. Okay, these types of problems, you may have to split your triangle apart. Into 2 different triangles. We not necessarily find angles per se. Do we still have to find some sides? We do. However, our lives are going to get a little easier because we're going to look at what's given to us. Now, most important thing, now we have this first triangle right here, the 32. This X, there's your right angle. So can we say for this first triangle, this X to the first triangle, is that our hypotenuse, this one here? Mm-hmm. Can. Now we notice we have a 45-degree angle here, right? This is 45, then what must this angle have to be? That's a 45 as well. You also know one other thing. If both of these angles are 45 degrees, that's 90. And what do we know about the distance from here? Going with the distance going from the right angle to here. What do we know about these 2 sides? Same. All right. That's going to be 32. So, in this case, we have the 45, 45, 90. Now, does anybody remember which proportion we need to use for a 45, 45, 90? I'll give you a hint. Okay. I mean, you could, but let's make it even easier. I mean, technically, I would not mark it wrong because there's your A squared, B squared. Yeah, you have to. However, look at the top. Look at the proportion that's on the top of that page. Because that's a 45, 45, 90. What proportion are we using on the top? Look at the top of the page. If it's 45, 45, 90, we use what side, what proportion? It's 1 over square root of what number? So, here's your leg. Here's your hypotenuse. Do we have enough information, given what we see with this triangle, to get that hypotenuse? We do. We sure do. So now, well, what's the value of the leg? Look at that first triangle, 32. Now, do we know the hypotenuse yet? Well, what variable are we using? X. Now we have enough information to get that value of X. Yeah. Diagonal multiplication. Well, what's 1 times X? 1 times X is X. What's 32 times square root of 2? Does anything happen to that? Nope. 32 square root of 2. Okay, what's going to happen here? Do we have to do anything else? No, you're done. Finito. There you go. Boom. There's that first value, 32 rad 2. All right. Now, I want us to look at the small triangle. You're probably thinking, we don't have anything for the small triangle. Or do we have something for the small triangle? What do we know? Again, what did we say? If this side was 32, these angles were 45. What must this length from here to here be again? 32. But what do we notice now about the smaller triangle, that 32? What is it in relationship to the smaller triangle? Bingo! You got a hypotenuse over here. Same side. Bang. That's your hypotenuse. So that means now, here's where our life gets very easy. There's our hypotenuse. And we want to go, does anybody remember, if we want to go from hypotenuse straight to the short leg for the 30, 60, 90, anybody remember the quickest way we can go from hypotenuse to the short leg? What number can we divide the hypotenuse by to get to the short leg? That's all you need to do. For 30, 60, 90. If you want to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg, if you have it. So if you want to go, so you might want to write this down somewhere. Hypotenuse to short leg. Take your hypotenuse. Divide by 2. There's your short leg. Do we have a hypotenuse for that 30, 60, 90? We do. Can we get the short leg? What are we going to do? So all we need to do is what with the 32 to get to the short leg? What's that? So what's our hypotenuse for the 36? 32. And then what are we going to divide 32 by to get to the short leg? Divide by 2. Boom. So what's 32 divided by 2? 16. So it's 16, the short leg. Now is that Y or Z?
Z.
Z. And again, do we need to go in alphabetical order when we solve for our variables? That's right, Edwin, we don't have to. There you go. So you want to go from hypotenuse to the short leg for the 30, 60, 90. You have the hypotenuse divided by 2. Boom. There's your short leg. Now, since we have our short leg, who thinks now we just need one other one? That's the, what's missing? What's left? The long leg. You want to find out one more trick to go from, I'm going to show you one more trick. You're going to just multiply. You're going to multiply something. Here's what you do. Get ready for this final trick. If you want to go from, short leg to long leg, you're just going to take your short leg and multiply it by, dun, 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 square root of 3. So if you have your short leg and you want to go from the short leg to the long leg, take your short leg, multiply by square root of 3. Now, do we have a short leg? Yeah. Short leg is, what was the value of the short leg? 16. Multiply by square root of 3. Well, what can we multiply? Do we multiply? Can we really do anything at this point? So that means we are. That's right, we're done. Short leg times square root of 3. Here's your long leg. Boom. Multiply by square root of 3. Bang, there you go, you're done. And this problem is done. Square root of 3. And again, is it necessary for us to go in alphabetical order with our variables? No. All right, anybody have any questions? We're going to try one more on the back, and then I'll give you your homework. Okay, if I were everybody, you might want to write down these tricks to help you. Now, of course, toughest part is going from hypotenuse to the long leg, or long leg to hypotenuse. That might be the toughest part. All right, anybody any questions? So we're going to talk about one more problem. It's going to be on the back. So get ready. Jason, get ready. All right. I think, trying to think what might be the best one. We're going to go to 20. I think 20. All right. Here's what we're going to do. We'll make it a little easier. 16 square root of 3. All right. Now, here's how we're going to knock these out. For this problem, this last slide. Let's look at our top triangle. What's given to us? Well, what type of triangle is this for the top triangle? What type of triangle do we have? Well, what angles do we see? 30, 60, and? All right. Still have a right angle, 30, 60, 90. Now, since we have a 30, 60, 90, we have a hypotenuse. You want to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg. Well, what's the only thing we need to do to go from the hypotenuse to the short leg? What number do we divide to go from hypotenuse to the short leg? 30, 60, 90. Just divide by 2. So that's for the 30, 60, 90. Take 16, square root of 3, divide by 2. But what's 16 divided by 2? 8. And then, do we do anything with that square root of 3? No, so it's 8 square root of 3. So x is 8 times square root of 3. Now, y and z, you're like, oh no, what do we do here? All right, here's what you're going to do. So your short leg x is 8 square root of 3. Now, get from short leg to long leg. You're going to multiply. What are we going to multiply to go from short leg to long leg? What number are we going to multiply by? Anybody remember? Square root of 3. That's all right. Now, you can take your short leg, which is, short leg was what number? We take our 8 times square root of 3. But when we multiply, what's going to happen when we multiply these square roots of 3? It just becomes 3. So now we're just left with 8 times 3. But what's 8 times 3? 24. That's going to be a long leg. All right. Well, you didn't need it for this triangle, but you need this 24 for this one. Now, going from, all right, here's what I'm going to do. Cross this one out. So now we have our 45, 45. What we're going to do here is the following. This is your hypotenuse. This is at leg. Y and Z are both going to be a leg. So that's a leg, that's a leg. So what we're going to do is going to be your setup. Now, the last step, and then this is really the last bit of work we need to do. We're just going to solve for this proportion because what do we know about the y and z? They're both going to be the same. 45, 45. I think the most difficult part is going from here to there. So now we have our setup. Now here's one of those where you do your multiplying. Because now we're dealing with the 45, 45, 90. Now, since we have the variable times the radical, what do we have to do to get rid of the radical? Multiply by square root of 2. I'm sorry, this one took a little longer than I had anticipated, but don't worry, this is the last one we're going to do. So 24 times square root of 2 equals, of course, this becomes what? Square root of 2 times square root of 2 becomes, all right, so y times 2. 24 rad 2 equals 2y. And then what's going to be our last step? Yup. Both sides by 2. Okay. So, and we can say that's going to be both y and z. Okay. All right, this might have been the toughest one. Now, here's what we're going to do. The last minute or two, and then we'll talk more about this. I'll give one to Alex. So here's the homework that's coming up. All right. 1. Sorry, Valerie. Yep, Valerie. Just close out. Yeah. All right. You got the homework that just came out. Okay, the only thing I'm going to say towards the back, most of these are going to be straightforward. You know, so you have a couple 45, 45s. I've given you the proportions. The last 3 slides, you only have to complete one of these 2. You only have to complete either the first one or the second one. The last 2 slides, you only have to complete one. Yeah, but you still have to do the other ones. It's just the last 2. Only one out of the last 2 needs to be done. That's all I'm going to require. If there's time, well, the good news is, listen up. We have a stinger next week. We can look at some of this during that stinger as well. All right. See you Thursday.